Hi everyone, and welcome back. My name is Margot and I'm here to teach you art, inspiration, and bring a little beauty to your everyday life. Today's video is one of the most requested videos, and a question I get asked very frequently on Instagram, and that's how I find inspiration. Have you ever sat down at your desk or work table? You have all your art supplies ready, you went out and bought some special paper or a canvas, and you're really excited to finally have time to do something creative. And you see that white piece of paper and you freeze. You don't know what to draw, you don't have any ideas, and you're scared that you're gonna waste all these valuable, expensive materials. So one of the questions I get asked most frequently is how I find inspiration and ideas for my art pieces. Well, you've come to the right person, because finding inspiration is something that I've learned over the years to be really good at. First of all, I want to say that I think that everyone has the capacity and the creativity to become an artist. I hear family, friends, and acquaintances often say, I'm not an artist, or I'm not creative, as if it's something that you're either born with or born without. And yet, for most other things in life, it's widely accepted that in order to be successful, you need to practice it enough to gain knowledge and mastery. Have you ever heard of someone trying to ride a bike for the first time, not be able to balance properly, and then just throw in the towel and say, well, I'm not a good bicycle rider? When you were a kid, did you spend hours and hours playing make-believe, or playing outside with your friends, or using your imagination to build a fort, create games, or come up with fantastical creatures and storylines? We've all been there. What I find incredible is how naturally creative we all are as children. As we grew up, we had less and less of a need to play and use our imaginations, which is why that skill has gotten a little rusty. So, how do we get that creative muscle in our brains active again? How do we get started? Let's dive into my 5 tips. Tip 1, keep an idea journal. So get yourself a notebook or have a couple of them. They don't have to be art sketchbooks. It can be a cheap little notebook you buy at the drugstore. But here's the important trick. Keep these notebooks or this notebook in a place where you spend a lot of empty time. And what I mean about empty time is time that is spent in a place where you are not actively engaging in a task. It's a place where you're often waiting around or lounging around. So if you have a routine where, for example, you spend 10 minutes a day washing dishes, or where you're folding laundry, or taking the train if you commute to work, things that don't require your brain to be actively involved in a task, keep a sketchbook right there. Ideas often come when you least expect them and when your brain is relaxed. I know that for myself, my best ideas always come from when I'm daydreaming or doing something like folding the laundry or just staring off into space. Yes, I do that. It's very much like waking up from a dream. And when you wake up from a dream, it's usually very vivid in your head. And if you don't either concentrate on remembering it or jot it down, you will forget that you ever had that dream. You'll forget over the course of the day, and you'll forget over the course of weeks. And so ideas are very much like dreams, because if something comes to mind and you don't actively collect that idea, it will escape you. Your distractions over the course of the day, your responsibilities will take precedence over that. And then you'll sit down at a table, like we mentioned at the beginning, and you'll see this blank piece of paper and you'll think, oh, I'm just not creative. I don't have any ideas. When the truth is that you just never gathered them at the moments that were right for you. That brings me to tip number 2, and that is to set aside 5 minutes every day to practice your creativity. So tip number 2 overlaps a lot with tip number 1, but it is more about building creativity and making time to practice that a little bit every day. The importance is to be consistent. I know we're all really busy with our daily lives and responsibilities that it can be hard to set aside some time for this, but 5 minutes is all you need. So for 5 minutes every day, sit down somewhere comfortable. Take out your little notebook and think of something you experienced recently that you thought was really cool or made you really happy. Maybe you loved Disney movies as a kid, or went on a family vacation, which brings wonderful, warm memories. Maybe it's a pretty shop window you saw recently, or a yummy box of cupcakes. The key here is to think of something that brings you joy. And this can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And so the key is to think of something that excites you. What is it that you find really cool or inspiring, or something that makes you really emotional, or something that elicits a really strong reaction from you? Now, as you think of that memory, start to doodle. Just take a pen or a pencil and move it along that piece of paper, and nothing is set in stone. You're just sort of daydreaming and doodling at the same time. The purpose of this is not to create a final piece or even something to keep. That's not the point. Think of it as running on a treadmill to stay in shape. You're exercising your creativity right now, so what you come up with or what it looks like in the end is completely irrelevant. Of course, if anything good comes out of this, you can always use that to inspire your next piece of art. But I don't want you to think about the outcome of this as much as the process of just exploring your imagination and just doodling on the spot. Tip 3 is musical inspiration. Music is an amazing source of inspiration and pulls out all sorts of memories and emotions that are a really great way of coming up with ideas. So maybe the next time you do a daily doodling exercise, put on some music. Some of my favorites are musical scores from movies. Think of the music from the movie Amélie, or The Nightmare Before Christmas, or from La La Land, or from The Sound of Music. All of those musical scores evoke such different feelings, which are really wonderful for finding inspiration. So step outside your comfort zone and search a movie or motion picture score on YouTube and let it play in the background as you let your pen wander on the page and see what happens. You could think of a scene taking place that the music could go to, for example, and try to draw that. This is really an exercise to break away from the confines and restrictions of your day-to-day life and to just be imaginative. Tip 4 is start building a library or toolbox of books and items that you find inspiring. Again, that can mean something really different to most people, but the idea here is to have these objects or things be catalysts for ideas. So let me show you a couple of things that I find really inspiring that I've collected over the years. So here's one thing that I found really amazing recently, and that was a box of postcards. It's something that I got from the New York Botanical Garden last time we visited. And there's just tons and tons of postcards of different flowers and plants. And so I just think this is really beautiful. And whenever I am looking for ideas, sometimes the colors really inspire me, and sometimes it's the composition, or sometimes I imagine little people or characters kind of flying in between the flowers. And so maybe that's an idea I'll do soon. Maybe I'll do people or dancers flying among the flowers. So you see, that's an example of how certain things, especially if you really like those objects, can help you find your next idea. Here are a couple more. These were a gift that my husband gave me as a stocking stuffer this year for Christmas. And the packaging is absolutely beautiful. And this one right here had little corals on it. And so this one actually inspired a painting I did recently that had mermaids in it. And I just thought the corals were really beautiful, and that got me daydreaming when I was doing my journaling of life under the sea. And that got me thinking about Disney and Ariel and the princess, and that's how that idea came. And here's another one. So books are a huge source of inspiration for me too. I'm a bookworm. I love beautiful coffee table books. And this book I picked up a few years ago, and it's about the scarf art of the fashion brand Hermes. And they have the most beautiful pictures of their scarf art, which is really graphic and colorful. And I find that the entire book is a terrific source of inspiration. And that brings us to tip number 5. Tip number 5 is about mindfulness and valuing the process more than the final outcome. Most people that I talk to about art, when they talk about their process, they're often very fixated on what the final piece will be. They want something, understandably, that's going to be perfect, that's going to be beautiful, that's going to be something that you're proud to share with friends or to frame up on your wall. And the problem with that is that very often, if you value perfection of the final piece, you will be afraid to take risks. That is a real obstacle. And I myself struggle with that all the time as well. I have a really funny anecdote about that, which is from my college days. And I went to Parsons School of Design in New York City. And one of my teachers in foundation year, she was this really strict teacher. And she taught drawing the human body. And one of the things that I found so fascinating about her class was that she would never allow any of us to leave the classroom with a final piece. Because to her, she's like, if you are worrying about making this look perfect, then you're not taking the right risks in order to grow and in order to become a better artist. So at the end of every class, she would wait for us by the door and she would rip up every single one of our drawings, no matter how great it was. She wouldn't let us leave with them because she's like, it's not about what you get out of it. And if you focus on what you get out of it, then you will be too afraid to challenge yourself. Think about that a little bit when you start sketching. I'm not asking you to rip up your beautiful works of art. Please don't do that. But think about that a little bit when you're in the sketch process. So there you have it. Those are my 5 tips for finding inspiration, and hopefully that helps you in being able to come up with some ideas for your art and to start practicing your creativity as well. If you guys have any questions, or if you want me to explain or go into further detail about any of these, leave me a comment below. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button below and don't forget to subscribe so you can see all my new videos as they come out. As always, thanks for watching and see you next time. Oh, isn't it such a good roll? Oh! Okay. Does this sound like you at all? Yeah. It sounds like you too? Yeah. Oh, you have no inspiration? Okay. And one of the questions I get asked, when you sit down, you have no inspiration. Does it sound like you? And then there's a little voice in the corner. Yeah.